Page 13, Jazz Blast. 4/4 time, no sharps or flats in the key signature, but we got accidentals. Well, the title sort of gives you a hint, because when you got jazz involved, you're going to have accidentals, and you're going to have some syncopation going on, and I'll explain that a little bit. Starting in the right hand at the beginning. Let's just get the notes and the rhythms and the fingering here. We got E flats, C, E flats. There's second beat, 2 and 2 and. That's the syncopation. You're playing, what you want to hear in the second measure is this. That's normal, but we're going to play that a little early. And that's syncopation. When you're playing things sooner than you expect, or later than you expect, or you don't play something you do expect, or there's some bit of element of surprise involved, that's syncopation. So go on, the third measure. 1, 2, 3. Now you got to cross over to get the B flat. Just relax the thumb. You can do this if you do, and like so. Last measure, first line, 1 and 2 and 3 and rest and. Second line is similar to the first. The last measure is a little different, not a problem, I hope. Go down to the last line in the right hand. Third measure, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. That's a chord. That's the right hand. Left hand, start out simple enough. C, G, and then you got the G you're holding down for 2 measures because it's tied. And then the second line is similar, except the third measure, second line, you have an F sharp. And the last line, C, rest, E flat, rest. Use second finger again, you got to rest so you got time. So that rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And the last measure, come up. So you got time, there's rest, move up. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Put them together, what do we get? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Rest. Now that last beat on the first line, the left hand's down by itself because the right hand has a rest. 1 and 2, 3 and rest and then we go on. 2. Last line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2. Like so. Now let's add the articulation. Staccatos. I'm going to recommend a wrist staccato here because you got to do it in the left hand. It's just easier if you do the same technique in both hands. Now that's an accent. Typically on a syncopation, when you're playing a note when you don't expect to, you'll just accent it. It's better if you can feel the accent. Accent, it might be an accident, but go on. Rest. Now that, again, the second measure, the first and second line, when you, the 8th note, E flat, is not staccato. No, go ahead and connect it. Only the first note is staccato. Last line, rest, 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 accent. So bam, bam. And again, connect this to this. Don't disconnect those. It's rather unmusical to do that because the C is the ending of it. It's really what it is. In fact, it would be easier, in my opinion, and more musical if that last measure, instead of 3, 2, 1, if you did a 4, 3, 2, and then played that C in the chord with the left hand, because that's part of it. That's where it's going, and then you can just play the other two notes, say with 4-2 or something, and in my opinion that is a better fingering than what the book is showing. And I would encourage you, just because the notes are in one staff or the other does not mean that hand has to play those notes. I make these changes in music all the time, where a note might be, like in this case, that C's in the upper staff, but it's easier and more musical for me. I can feel the music better if I play it with the other hand, so I do. And I would encourage you to look at that possibility, and hopefully your teacher, some teachers are very, no, if it's in the upper staff, it's got to be the right hand. And there's no rule that says that. Now you can add the dynamics. It starts out loud. And you're staying loud throughout all the first two lines, and the last line come down and start that sort of soft, and then by the third measure you want to be loud again. So plan it out. Don't get loud till the third measure. So a little louder, a little louder. That's it. Now what you can do whenever it's spread over measures like this is I take it by the measure. So it's like the first measure, the last line, I just do the whole thing medium soft. Next one will be medium loud. Now loud. Type thing, and finish it loud with an accent. Isn't that nice? I guess. Speed-wise, it says fast with zip. You can add the zip. This is early morning for me. I don't do zip in the morning. It's just... Now, a couple of things here. Let's talk about it. Let's get into the interpretation, because once you've learned it as it's written, now we get into the interpreting side. This is a very bouncy piece, a very light piece. They don't give you anything in the second line, third measure. Here, there's no articulation giving at all. To me, it's a little out of place to play these legato when the whole piece kind of bounces along. So I recommend maybe you separate these, because you're doing all these others that way. But it's an interpretive thing. You don't have to. Maybe you play them long staccato. I don't like that, but it's up to you and how you're interpreting it. You might play it one way one time and another way another time. That's when they don't give you anything, you're on your own pretty much, or your teacher tells you how to do it. So I would encourage you probably just play the staccato. And in the last line at the end, we want to hear the C above everything. That's why I'm playing it in the left hand. It's easier for me. Yeah. I mean, if you can play it louder, but it's more control if I do it in the left hand. Now also in the first line, third measure, there's nothing on those that tell you, there's no marking or anything, and I would tend to separate those two. Because the whole thing is kind of that way. Now a lot of times in pieces we like contrast, and maybe if you played them legato, that provides some contrast. So that first line would be that. That's another way of interpreting it. I can't say one way is correct and one way is incorrect. It's an interpretive thing. One person will play it one way, another person will play it another way. You have to decide on whether or not you want those staccatos or legato on that. We do like to change things up a bit and not always do everything the same way, so it's kind of nice to play them legato too. Now, jazz, swings, and blues, these genres of music, these different kinds of music, they have particular style associated to them. And that is when you have eighth notes in the music, you what we call swing the eighth notes. And you just do it automatic. There's no written notation for it. So they write it out as even eighth notes. And it's understood that if it's a jazz piece or a swing piece or a blues piece, you swing the eighth notes. And that simply means the counting is not 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the counting is 1 and 2 and 3 and you swing the counting. So in the second line or second measure, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then the last line there with the third measure, there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's jazz. And you're just expected to play it that way. If they want even eighth notes, they have to put in a note, play evenly or something to that effect, so you know to play them evenly. Otherwise, you're incorrect if you don't swing them. You're supposed to swing them. So just swing these eighth notes. And when we do the play with me, I am going to swing the eighth notes because that's the correct way to do it. It really is. I like to do a play with me. I'm not going to do the dynamics or any of that. Notes and rhythms and articulation. That's what we're after. We're going to go slow, so you can play along if you want. 1, 2, and ready, and go. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and rest, and 4, and rest, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2.